Often I get asked of what should go into a request for quote or proposal, or if people are getting other, individuals or organizations or suppliers to create digital learning resources, what are the fundamental things that should go in that, and also to keep people consistent when they're getting quotes back and alike. So a couple of things would be maybe specifying the authoring tool. I'd suggest going with one of the common tools, an independent tool, not attached to a particular supplier, because then you're going to be stuck to that particular tool and hence stuck to that particular supplier. SCORM would be a big one. You may or may not be using Learning Record Store, getting the XAPI big data. Most common is SCORM 1.2 or 2004. It's not going to make a lot of difference in terms of the effort, a couple of minutes. And a lot of the common tools have the XAPI statements in it as well. Or you could do both. You add it both in there, but at the very least it needs to be SCORM. You need to have the source files. So you need the ability to edit that later or provide that to someone else later to be able to edit. So the source files are a given. Also, you don't want to have to be testing it yourself. You want the supplier or the designer to have tested it. So a requirement there would be some sort of evidence to show that you've tested it in the sense of the SCORM connectivity testing. So QA aside, you need the QA of the connectivity testing on your platform. So either let them have access to a Sandpit site on your platform or use SCORM Cloud or something like that. And you can provide evidence that they have tested it and it does work and it is compliant. Saves you having to do that. Another would be any documents that you've got, like any guidelines, branding guidelines, technical specifications, environments, or even web accessibility. So web accessibility would be, say, web accessibility guidelines, say WK 2.1 AA. So then you're starting to specify. So you don't need to go into a lot of detail, just a few key points of here's our requirements, and when you build something or if you're quoting something, it needs to have these things, our branding guidelines, our accessibility to AA, to these particular specs. And if you've referenced those specs and the person's got access to those specs, then the onus is on them to comply with those specifications. You don't need to create and get all that information and put it into a request for quote, for example. So rely on your specifications and put the onus back on the person building or the vendor that's going to be building the learning resource. That's their responsibility to make sure they've gone through those and comply to those, and you can hold them accountable to those guidelines.